On this episode, I'm standing up. Welcome to this episode of the Ask Donaldson Show. In this particular episode, we're going to get specific. We're talking to you, real estate brokers. We're talking to you, especially if you're unaware of some major changes that are taking place for those of you that have a broker's license. So whether you are managing hundreds or even thousands of agents, or you're an individual broker with a license, there are some things that you need to know. My name is Chris Donaldson. Let's get into the show. So, big changes in 2017. In Louisiana, I want you guys to be aware that the Real Estate Commission is definitely doing their job in working hard to protect the public. A major part of that is ensuring that brokers have a certain bit of accountability that's usually above and beyond that of just the person with the salesperson license. So one major change that I want you guys to be aware of is this one, and that's advertising. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a broker's license, already in Louisiana, you should be aware that the way the Real Estate Commission operates in terms of advertising violations, rules and regulations and violations therein, is they fine you. But what I want you guys to know starting in 2017 is the penalties are going way up. Look at these penalties. $250 for the first advertising offense. $500 for the second offense, $1,000 for the third offense, and that's per item, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're found to have an advertising campaign that violates the rules and you send out 1,000 pieces, technically they could get you for each piece that violates. But here's what I want you guys to know as a broker. Here's the scary part. Here's where the risk management comes in. I really want y'all to pay attention. The broker, starting in 2017, is going to have to match these fines for every violation for every agent in your company. So if you manage 100 agents and they start getting $250 fines, you're getting a matching invoice. Because the law is very simple. Brokers are responsible for the advertising of their sponsored licensees. So if Wanda, your agent, gets a violation, you pay too. If Barry gets a $500 violation, you have to pay too. This is huge. So if you're a broker in Louisiana, you need to put into place risk management strategies, train your agents on proper compliant advertising. Otherwise, this could get real expensive real quick. So the bigger the office, the bigger the concern should be. This is real. There is nothing that we should do other than understand risk management is a part of managing a brokerage. This goes into effect June 1st. So June 1st, they're going to start enforcing this. Now, what I want you guys to understand is this is already in place. It's $75, then $150 the way it is now. So they're raising the penalties, but then they're clarifying the broker's responsibility here. So as a broker, remember, you have to approve all of the advertising of all of your sponsored licensees. So if you don't have a mechanism in place, I'd get one in place now, because I don't want to see anybody violating the rules and having to pay these kind of penalties. Ryan, behind the camera, what do you think about that? It's kind of scary, isn't it?
Steep.
Steep. That can get real expensive. Number 2. In 2017, I don't know how to flip this chart, and I'm just going to flip it the way I want to. In 2017, licensed brokers now have a specific mandatory course that you guys have to take that's above and beyond the regular mandatory course like you've taken every year. So in 2017, there is a broker mandatory continuing education course in addition to the regular mandatory course. But here's the real kicker. It has to be taken live. So I know, that's going to cause some problems, and there's going to be some people that may not be happy about that. Look, we are an online school here. We do thousands of students through our online program every year, but this is the rule. And so my job here is to make sure that you're aware of it. So your continuing education, if you're a broker, this is what it looks like in 2017. You got to do your broker mandatory course, then you have to do the regular mandatory course for everybody, and then 4-hour elective. 1 + 2 + 3, that's your 12 hours. So don't think that you have to do 16 hours or that you have more hours. It's the same 12 hours, but now 8 of them essentially are mandatory. The broker mandatory, the regular mandatory, then whatever 4-hour elective, that's what makes up your 12 hours in 2017. But again, make sure that you understand the broker mandatory can only be done in a live classroom format. So pay attention to this, brokers. Get it out of the way. Make sure that you know, because remember, with the Real Estate Commission, you could do 24 hours of continuing ed. But if you don't have your 2 mandatories as a licensed broker, you will not be in compliance, and you'll be subject to disciplinary action, which is what I want to see you guys avoid. Finally, change number 3. Let's get a little deeper into the world of being a real estate broker. One of your main responsibilities in Louisiana as a real estate broker is managing escrow money. So we're talking specifically and usually the escrow money of your clients or of even customers, right? If you're the listing broker or representing the listing side of the transaction. In 2016, the license law was updated to clarify what to do when there's a dispute over escrow money. So I want to be really clear with you guys that if you are a licensed broker in Louisiana, you need to know your responsibilities when you're dealing with other people's money, escrow money specifically. Because I can show you this is one of the main ways that you can be subject to major disciplinary action, suspension, or revocation, because this is other people's money. So the law says you have 60 days to resolve escrow disputes, or 60 days from the act of sale, whichever comes first. It used to say 90, guys. Now it's 60. Okay? And then basically, you've got to do one of 4 things if you're a broker. It's really pretty simple. 1, mutual consent. You give the money to where they say, right? So what they agreed to at closing table, or you have a separate written agreement, whatever the client say, because it's their money, then you go ahead and distribute accordingly. If you're almost up against the 60 days, and as a broker, clearly, it says on the contract who deserves that disputed deposit, then you send a letter 10 days in advance informing the parties of who you've made a decision that's going to receive the deposit, and then you go ahead and disperse it. So as a broker, it's our job. I'm a real estate broker. It's our job to ensure that we understand contracts. And when a contract falls through, who deserves that deposit? We are the ones that are supposed to determine that. But if it can't be argued, it cannot be disputed, it can't be solved, in other words, well, you've got the courts. So choice number 3 is within 60 days, if I'm not comfortable and I don't have 1 or 2, you can file it with court. Let the court make the decision for you. And then choice number 4 is if the parties are suing each other and you get forced by the court to deposit it, well, that makes it really easy, right? I get a subpoena for the deposit, there you go. Courts, you can have it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how it works. So understand, as a broker, if I have other people's money in my escrow account, that there is a law. These are rules of the commission on how I need to distribute those. And some of us may not have noticed that the license law and the rules and regs were updated in 2016, and specifically they address escrows and escrow deposits. So in review, if you're a licensed broker in Louisiana, there are 3 big changes you need to be aware of in 2017. Number 1, the advertising rules. Remember, the fines are getting significantly steeper, and they have clarified that the broker will have to match every fine of a sponsored licensee. That's big. Number 2 is the continuing education requirement. Now, if you're a broker, you've got a requirement in addition to the mandatory. You have to do both mandatories in addition to your elective to make up your 12 hours. And then number 3, really make sure that you understand escrow disputes, because the law has changed, the rules are different, and the commission is going to be enforcing those brokers who don't follow the escrow rules much more steeply than in the past. So, if you take your broker course, make sure that you pay attention to these big issues, because there are major changes here in 2017. So thank you for watching the Ask Donaldson show. If you want more information or if you want to ask a question, we always have the information below, so you know where to find us. But if you have a question that you'd like us to ask here on the show, really simple. Hit us up in the email bag. It's ask@donaldsoneducation.com. We'd love to answer your question on the next edition of the show. My name is Chris Donaldson. Thank you for watching.